You know, he loved all of you guys, as you know, and we love all you guys too. But he was always a happy man, right? As Robin said, she did such a great job today. Here's for Robin.
Yeah. Cheers to Robin, yeah.
You know, he just was always ready to give you a big hug and, how you doing? Everything's fine, mighty fine. And every time, glass was overflowing.
Come on over here, Ed.
Oh. And his brothers and sisters, and so a couple stories. One story I like to tell is Robin and I came home from London, and we were living in his basement because we came home with negative $10,000 in the bank.
At least.
And that was a mere 25 years ago, maybe 23 years ago.
22, yeah.
I mean, literally had not a dime to run together. I gotta keep going.
Keep going.
And I'm living in the basement. We're living in the basement, and my dad and I used to like Johnson and Murphy shoes, and we both wore a suit to work in our Johnson and Murphy shoes. And I had size 13, and he had size 11. And he got up always early in the morning. He was up at 5, and by 5:30, 5:45, he was out the door. And one morning he got up, went out the door, put on 2 shoes, went out the door, got to work, stepped out. One of the shoes is like really loose. He's like, my foot shrunk! What is that? He was freaking out. He just could not figure out what happened to his foot. How that baby shrunk. So that was him. He was always a happy man. We loved being with him.
Well, I could tell when
Yeah.
when Bob met Joyce and he was ready to go out on their first date, he didn't have a car yet. So he said, Dad, can I use the car?
This is a great story.
He said, yeah, sure. So he went out in the garage to get the car and go to see Joyce, and he came back in. He said, Dad, I got to show you something. He backed out without opening the door.
He's so excited.
Just
thinking about Joyce.
So excited to go out on that date.
Couldn't wait to see
Garage door.
Yeah, so that was that one. Anybody else?
Well, just the other day, he was sitting there with Dell. I don't know if Dell could tell this story better than I do.
Del should tell the story. Where is
Maybe Dell told a lot of you guys this story, but he's sitting there with my Uncle Dell, who's a big Buckeye, by the way, right? And they're talking about, and Dell goes, so what do you think that Bo and Woody are doing up there in heaven? Are you going to go up there and talk to them and stuff? And my dad goes, I'll be talking to Bo, I won't be talking to Woody. He's not up there. And then he waits for a little while, and he goes, well, you can talk to Woody when you get there.
That's funny.
No, he loved his music, and he would walk around the house just singing at the top of his lungs. Usually
Out
the
of-
wrong
out of
words.
key.
Wrong words. He'd sing a Reverecci, Darren, or something like that. But he loved his music
And his cigars.
and his cigars.
I remember, I love to fish, and I'm always fooling around, just trying this and trying that and the other thing. Whenever my dad fished, he would throw that line out there and just with the sinker and the worm on the bottom and just let it sit. And he would just sit there for an hour, just, he never touched it. I'm doing all this other crap like I'm making He's just sitting there, watching me and watching the scenery.
With a cigar.
Pretty soon he reels one in, Yeah, he was
You
so
still had
patient.
nothing,
It's the only
Steve.
time I was so patient. He's always had to be doing something and going somewhere, and something's going on. But when he fished, he sat down and he was quiet and still.
The only time my dad ever got mad is when you were doing something unethical or mean or something bad to somebody. It's the only
Why
time
would
you
you
ever
know
got
that?
mad. He, by the way, was really mad when I became a lawyer.
Yeah.
He did not like it. In the end, I think he was proud of me. But first, when I went to law school, he was like, lawyers they're not good people. Why are you doing that?
Well, that's why you
And
run
then he
into
met-
mergers and acquisitions instead
Yeah.
of ambulance chasing.
Right. But yeah, that was pretty much the only time. Steve tells a story about You probably don't want to tell this story about Mark. You were telling it last night, Mark Lampert.
Yeah, I don't want to tell that one.
It's a boy that lived behind us, and Steve did something mean to the boy, and that's when Dad just cleaned his clock. Just like,
He kicked me
it
in
was
the rear.
what it didn't matter what
Like
we did
10
in our
times on the
house,
way home.
what we did to each other, what we lost, what we did stupid. But if it was something mean to somebody else, that's when he got mad. He would not tolerate that.
I remember I was like 8 years old, and he was like 10 years older than me. And he really didn't date much. And then we had a basement, and it was very humid, and he was working construction one summer. And he came home, and he would go down there, and he would lay down on the mattress. He'd fall asleep, while the tiles would steam up. And I went down to waking up for dinner. Mom told me to go get him for dinner. And he had written in the tiles, BD plus JB. And we teased him, but that was the love of his life, and from then on, nothing but joy. So, for 60 years plus.
Oh,
Yeah.
he loved her.
Yeah.
He went over to see her every single day, sometimes twice a day, take her a big cookie. And the people at Huron Woods where she stays, they say that they got a bonus with Bob. When Mom moved in, they got a bonus because he was there all the time, and he was always happy, right? I mean, he'd go in, he was just happy all the time.
He loved to do things for people. He, he was really active. I mean, he did so much fundraising, really significant additions to a lot of organizations, Habitat for Humanity and most ministries, and started to
Kids.
get into Rotary Club, Bethania Kids. Just really made a big impact, I think, on a lot of lives. We all know how much of a worker he was. He every vacation we went on, I think we've got pictures of him in telephone booths in every country in the world, or at least that he's been to. And he was a master of, remember the days, some of you older of us, remember the days before we had coffee cups with lids? And he would just go out with a mug of black coffee with a white shirt and tie and drive down our bumpy driveway, kaboom, without spilling a drop. But then there were mornings when he would leave the coffee cup up on the roof of his car, and he'd have to come back in and get a refill, or it would spill on his shirt and he'd have to come in and change his shirt. And I used to listen for that because he would wake up before dawn, and I was in the front of the house, and so I could hear the car going. And it's like, oh, is he going to make it down the driveway with his coffee this morning or not? And I just, he loved to cook for people. For anybody who was up in Boyne City, you probably had a meal that was served and cooked and organized by him. Those, more than one family reunion, which I think our generation needs to step up to the plate and get a family reunion going.
All you guys.
Somehow, I don't know, something.
All you guys.
Because he was a good one for that. He organized a few of those, for which we're grateful. But do you have something to read?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Email from Bob.
Bob just sent me an email, okay? And it says, I've gone home to see my father. I've gone home, so don't you cry. I'll be waiting for you in heaven, in my mansion prepared on high. No more sickness, no more sorrow, no more pain, no more grief. I've gone home to be with Jesus, though my, was that word?
Sojourn, yeah.
So my sojourn here was brief. I've gone home to live in heaven with all the blessed saints of old, here with Abraham and David, to stroll through streets of gold. But there's something else more beautiful, more precious beyond the crystal sea. I wander through realms of glory, I find my Savior walks with me. I've gone home to be in heaven, where there's no sadness and no night. There is joy and peace unending in this blissful land of light. I've gone home to be in heaven. Though you miss me and the tears abound, just keep believing in God's promises and listen for that trumpet sound. Because one day, in God's timing, when the Lord calls out your name, look to the skies in awe and wonder we'll see each other again.
Let's say our prayer, the Damschroder prayer. I know we're not eating right now, but it's a prayer we all know. So We can hold our hands together and say the Damschroder prayer. Well, we should have done this before lunch, so we're doing it now.
Yeah, we sort of missed that part, didn't we?
Jesus,
Bless what thou hast given. Feed our souls with bread from heaven. Guide and lead us all the way. All that we may do and say. In his name, amen.
So my good friend Todd gave us a couple of pigeons. He's an awesome guy. You know, Todd lost his dad when he was 19, and he was rebellious. He was so mad at God and the world, and I spent years with Todd, and he's just been getting over it. You know, he's just been getting over it. He's just so pissed. The last probably 4 or 5 years, he started to mellow out and figure it out. And he said, came over today and he's to the funeral, and he said, Tim, I got something special. I'm going to leave it on your porch. This is what he brought. So he just says, you know, let him go, let him fly. This is his idea. So this is for Bopa.
I have a toast, just I guess on that, because it's in that vein. Just, you know, fly, Bob, Dad,
Yeah.
Bopa, Uncle,
Right.
Father, Cousin,
Friend.
fly, and be free. And I know I have felt his presence when I was on the other side of the world. Just his unconstrained spirit of generosity and just pure love, and being able to show that in ways that he's always wanted to be able to show. And just, I love you, and you will always be with us.
Cheers.
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 Hey, Bopa.
Okay, wish you.
All right, I'm not sure how we do this.
You gotta grab them,
You
Dad.
gotta grab
Grab
them, Tim,
one,
otherwise
grab
they're gonna
one.
go themselves.
Open that lid.
Yeah, wow.
Let you them down.
You guys can pull them and turn them around so we can see. Oh, is
Hey,
it?
Ben, grab one.
Go. Here, Steve, you want to take one?
Stand back, one's back.
I'm afraid they'd pick me.
Pumping away like
No, they're
You guys
trained
turn
not
around,
to.
Tim, so we can see them.
Okay,
Okay, come
Bopa.
over. Go ahead.
Fly,
There,
Bopa.
there, there.
2, 3.
Be free!
You shit on me.
His party
Let's
gift.
see. Oh, yeah.
Well, something 100 times your size grabs hold you and drags you.
Yeah, you're gonna shit too.
Oh, cool. All right, well, thank you.